This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Aloha, America. Welcome to our show today, coming to you from Santa Claus, Indiana, and we are underneath a major thunderstorm right now. But so far, the power is holding, and we should have a full show today. But it is fun to watch. I like a good lightning storm, and I was out back just before showtime watching the lightning and listening to the thunder and just having a fine old time out there communing with Mother Nature as it was. Anyway, we've got a lot to talk about today. And as usual, I'm going to talk the news until I run out of news. Then we'll open the phone lines and you can get in there with your comments, questions, observations, and mostly your opinions here. Earlier today, the United States Supreme Court handed a victory to Trump regarding the Pennsylvania's birth control wars. And that issue was whether organizations, companies, entities, churches especially, would be obligated to provide birth control or abortions to their female employees despite their religious beliefs. And the Supreme Court said, no, if their religious beliefs say they cannot support these things, then there is no reason to support them. Now, personally, my opinion is that birth control and abortion is elective, and that the women and men involved should pay for it themselves anyway. But this idea of claiming to have a right to have somebody else pay for your errors of judgment, I think, has always been a very, very weak argument anyway. So anyway, as a result of this decision, as many as 126,000 women could lose coverage for free birth control through workplace health plans in the first year. So anyway, moving right along, I want to talk a little bit about Ghislaine Maxwell, or Maxwell the Pimp. I think that's what I'm going to call her. Maxwell the Pimp allegedly has conclusive evidence against Prince Andrew. Apparently has secret video footage of the prince acting most unprincely. And she may be willing to share it with prosecutors. Now, of course, earlier we'd heard from a confidant that she really likes Prince Andrew and doesn't want to drag him into this. But I think when push comes to shove, yeah, she will. So Christina Oxenberg, who said she's a former friend of Maxwell and Epstein, told The Sun, there's an authoritative source, that Maxwell previously boasted to her about procuring girls for the multimillionaire and explained how they would secretly record their, how should we put it politely, acquaintances. So apparently, Prince Andrew, who's the Queen's son, was allegedly one of Maxwell and Epstein's friends who came under the covert silence. All righty, now we're getting a report. The other day we're talking about, how long is she going to live? Well, apparently, Maxwell the Pimp reportedly has secret sex tapes in her possession that would expose powerful Epstein acquaintances, giving her clout in any potential plea deal while also acting as a form of protection against being suicided. Of course, it's no protection against being tortured until she gives up the location of these tapes. But what it means is she's got copies. And that raises the question, who else has got copies? I mean, it's got to be very difficult for these idiots who allowed themselves to get videotaped with an underage girl because one phone call says blue and the other one says red. What do? Talk about the rock and the hard place. Anyway, an unnamed friend of Maxwell's told the Daily Mail if Maxwell the Pimp goes down, she's going to take the whole darn lot of them with her. The secret stash of sex tapes, I believe Ghislaine has squirreled away, could end up being her get-out-of-jail card if the authorities are willing to trade. She has copies of everything Epstein had. This could implicate some twisted movers and shakers. So Ghislaine has copies of all of that. Well, interesting. That moves us one step closer to the sunlight with all of these tapes. I'd like to see them out there. I really would. Because you know something? I'm not being cruel. These people were very foolish to let themselves get videotaped. They were very foolish to let themselves get lured into sex with underage girls. And the married ones were definitely foolish to let themselves get, seduced by somebody other than their spouse. Okay, so in a way, they've created their own problems. But the way you stop a blackmailer The way you keep a blackmailer from influencing somebody, whether it's a bank president or a senator or a representative or even the president, is you expose the blackmail material. And then everybody goes, oh my gosh, that's terrible. And we go back to living our lives. So I'm hoping all of this stuff is made public. We'll all wag our fingers appropriately, as we've been taught to do since childhood. But now all of our politicians are free from the blackmail, or at least Epstein's blackmail, and are more likely to do their job for their constituents and donors rather than from whoever has these tapes. So apparently there's been yet another accuser coming forward. This one's anonymous, claiming that Jeffrey Epstein paraded her in front of Donald Trump when she was the pedophile's underage victim. And this is a lawsuit almost identical to the prosecutor's case against Ghislaine Maxwell. And they're declaring that President Trump may be a possible witness, but there is no evidence that he actually indulged in the young lady or even knew that she was underage. But he is a witness. Now, that will be interesting here. Another indicator that Epstein may have had intelligence connections. Apparently, the Deutsche Bank was looking the other way regarding Jeffrey Epstein's accounts, and because of their failure to exercise due diligence, they've now been fined $150 million for banking transactions with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, that one was close. I don't know if you can hear it over the microphone or not. Anyway, Jeffrey Epstein chaired a $6.7 billion company that documents suggest may have received a secret Federal Reserve bailout. Yet another indicator of nefarious skullduggery going on here. According to a database created by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists containing files leaked from the law firm Appleby, Jeffrey Epstein, who was under indictment as a sex offender and assaulter of underage girls, was the chairman of Liquid Funding Limited from November 9th, 2001 until at least March 19th, 2007. The offshore business had been incorporated in Bermuda on October 19th, 2000, and according to the Fitch ratings firm, it had $6.7 billion in outstanding liabilities in 2006. Boy, that's a lot of money to lose. Okay, getting on to our culture wars here. Apparently, liberal writers and activists have signed an open letter calling for an end to the cancel culture. They feel it's gone too far. They recognize that the vast majority of people are looking at this as a very bad thing, and they want to try and basically bring it to an end and then distance themselves from it as much as possible. And some of the people who signed it include J.K. Rowling, New York Times opinion writer Bari Weiss, and political activist Noam Chomsky. And there's more than 100 names attached to the piece titled A Letter on Justice and Open Debate, basically saying that writers like JK have a right to their personal opinions and that nobody has a right to try and destroy their livelihood because they disagree with them. If you disagree with J.K. Rowling, engage in a debate. That is the adult, mature, civilized way to deal with this, not organizing a rabble and saying, tear down her next project. So our cultural institutions are facing a moment of trial, the letter begins. Powerful protests for racial and social justice are leading to overdue demands for police reform, along with wider calls for greater equality and inclusion across our society, not least in higher education, journalism, philanthropy, and arts. Then the letter, of course, goes on to say, you know, again, we have our cherished rights of freedom of speech, freedom of expression. And everybody has a right to their opinion. They have an equal right to their opinion. And if they honestly, strongly feel about that opinion, they have a right to voice it without fear of retribution. That's why we have a First Amendment, so that you can speak the truth to power, and power is not allowed to fight back, whether it's governmental power, political power, police power. That's what the First Amendment is all about, and we dare not surrender that. We dare not surrender that at all. Okay, there were some authors of this academic paper from 2019, a study on race and police killings. And this is a study that has been cited by a lot of people, including conservatives, as showing that in point of fact, there is no racial bias in police shootings, that in fact, more white people are being killed by the police than black. But of course, that doesn't fit the current narrative. So now the authors of this paper are trying to retract it. They want to pull it out of circulation, pull it out of the journals. Why? Well, there's no mistake in it. The study basically just presented the facts here. But it's embarrassing to the current political situation. So now we're politicizing inconvenient facts and data. It doesn't fit the narrative. Winston Smith, white courtesy phone. Winston Smith, white courtesy phone. All right, Donald Trump says flying the Confederate flag is freedom of speech. Yes, he's right. It is. Flying any flag is a statement. I flew the Gadsden flag on July 4th. That was my statement. And nobody harassed me, I might add. Donald Trump is lashing out at NASCAR for banning it in the latest culture war intervention. Apparently, a museum that has the General Lee car from Dukes of Hazzard is saying it's going to stay on display, even though it's got the Confederate stars and bars across the paint job. They're going to keep it out there and say, people want to see this thing. Now, the Trump administration has submitted a notice of withdrawal from the World Health Organization, and it's been submitted to the United Nations Secretary General. A senior administrator official told Fox News on Tuesday, after Trump for weeks had blasted the World Health Organization's handling of the coronavirus pandemic and what he called its pro-China bias. The White House also notified congressional lawmakers of the official removal effective July of next year. So, and let's be honest, whether they have a pro-China bias or not, they certainly didn't do a really good job in this last pandemic, did they? All right. Donald Trump is going to have another rally in Portsmouth, New Hampshire on Saturday. And already again, Democrats are trying to reserve all the tickets like they did the last time in Tulsa, so that there's a lot of empty seats. They're reserving the tickets. They've got no intention of showing up. And I have to fault Donald Trump on this one because he had time to come up with a different solution to fill that arena. Okay? And they didn't do it. They're falling into the same trap again. And what he should do is just throw open the doors and say, first come, first served. And if you're late to the venue, we're sorry. But if they don't fill the venue, everybody gets a seat without a reservation. If they fill the venue, it shows how the Tulsa and presumably Portsmouth were sabotaged deliberately by the Democrats. Now, the Democrats ought to realize that if they force Trump to do that, to just open the doors and let people in, those people who don't get in are going to resent it. They're going to be very angry. They're not going to vote for Trump. Just think about it for a little while here. All right, let's talk about the coronavirus. Everybody else is these days. According to Fox News, Americans will be wearing our face masks for several years. I can imagine, can you imagine going to a high school reunion and just walking around all these masked faces? You know, Tom, is that you? I think I recognize those eyebrows. Anyway, the Royal Society chief, Venki Ramakrishnan, is saying that masks are the new normal, and those refusing them should be shamed like drunk drivers. No one should leave their home without a face covering in their possession, and they should be worn particularly indoors in enclosed public spaces where social distancing is difficult. This is from a Nobel Prize-winning biologist and head of the UK Scientific Academy. Now, that's rather interesting in light of the CDC coming out, I think it was just yesterday, saying that they have confirmed that COVID-19 is in fact airborne, and you can get it outside without the masks. Anyway, down in Texas, down in South Texas, they're getting ready to arrest any COVID-19 positive residents who refuse to self-isolate. Now, the warning, which was confirmed as legitimate by an official with the Brooks County Office of Emergency Management, cites Texas Penal Code 22.05a, which states a person commits an offense if he recklessly engages in conduct that places another in imminent danger of serious bodily injury. So they have a law on the books, and it looks like they're going to try and enforce it. Meanwhile, officials in Los Angeles, Seattle, and Miami-Dade County, Florida, have acknowledged that the anti-police protests and riots may have led to the increased spread of the coronavirus. Because, as you know, in Los Angeles, Seattle, and Miami-Dade, they're having a spike in infections. All right. Over at the Henry Ford Health System in Michigan, they've published a study in which they have found hydroxychloroquine to be effective against COVID-19. And they basically said of the patients who were treated with just hydroxychloroquine, only 13% died compared to 26.4% among those not given hydroxychloroquine. Overall, there was an 18.1% in-hospital mortality rate among patients over the age of 18 and with a median age of 64. Here is, of course, the caveat. They're saying that the vast majority of people who test positive for the virus and later die also has underlying health conditions, and suggest the patients are dying with the virus rather than from it. Okay, we have Dr. Kelly, who's a fellow RBN host, and apparently has a scoop for us right now. So, Dr. Kelly, thank you for spending time with us today, and what's on your mind?
Hey, thanks for taking the call and all your good work over the years here. I heard a little comment that just made me chuckle. Monica J. on Fox News here in Reno, Carson, Nevada area, my neighbors, were saying that one of the teaching hospitals took a batch of the tests and didn't do anything with them and sent them in, and I kind of hear that they all came back positive. So
yes,
that's
I
a
heard that as well.
Yeah, that's a beautiful idea, because this is attacking our men, and it is attacking our posterity producers, and it is attacking, and since it doesn't work so good on women or pregnant women, it is being forced and, directed upon them. And so your body is your property. Your home is your castle. And nobody has any right to look at your property, to talk about it, to describe it, to discuss it, and certainly not to touch it without your written permission.
Well, I heard that story about all these tests being sent in unused and coming back positive. And I remember a story from, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, where there was a batch of these tests that went out that were already contaminated with COVID-19 from the point of manufacture. And I'm wondering if these are some of those same tests coming back to haunt them.
Oh, and how terrible is that for, the curse that would be visited on us from some evil, scarf and barf Fauci. And the cool thing is that there are so many great hosts and guests on the shows that we exposed and re-exposed Anthony Fauci here back in 1986, New York Times, January 14. By 1996, 3 to 5 million Americans will be HIV positive and 1 million will be dead from AIDS. We're still here 10 years later, and we didn't fall for it. And that guy sounds like he's going to kick the bucket any second now. I wonder what his medical examiner report will look like.
Okay. Did we lose?
So thanks again for pointing things out.
Okay.
And let's keep our men healthy. Let's support our immune systems. And it was great. I'm working on a patient one day, and I give him a nutrition supplement, and he tastes it, and he goes, "Wow, that tastes like, ASS." And I said, "That's thymus, sir. I didn't miss a beat."
Well, what can I tell you? You sound like a fun doctor. Anyway, Doctor, we're coming up on the end of this segment. Do you have anything you want to add before we hit the commercials?
I just want to keep the focus on and moving forward when we discuss coronavirus. I also saw a flyer from 2005-06 in my possession, in my files, and it was a doggy vaccine for $5 for coronavirus, all one word. So let's just be strong and stout and stable, and we'll come through this. And thank you again.
Well, thank you, Dr. Kelly. We're going to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
As a listener of RBN, you're surely concerned about being informed and being ready for whatever may come. Please consider the following questionnaire as a soul-jarring wake-up call. If you answer no to more than 2 of these following questions, you probably aren't going to make it through any major disruption in our country. The questions were compiled by people that have been there. Are you really ready? Do you own your own firearm for the primary defense and protection of you and your loved ones? Have you ever been professionally trained to stand against life-threatening behavior? Have you ever practiced enough to fire 500 rounds during a 2 to 4 day time frame, day and night? Can you load, unload, fire, and clear a jam in total darkness? Have all the adults in your household been professionally trained? Are you, life and death, comfortable with your abilities with pistol, revolver, shotgun, and rifle? Are you aware that everything that you do to prepare for an emergency is a waste of time, money, and energy? If you haven't honed your abilities to their highest level to protect and keep what you have, do you have the repair parts that will most likely be needed for each of your firearm, and do you have the ability to install those parts? Could you completely clean every firearm you own? Are you aware that your body won't go where your mind hasn't been? In other words, without proper training, followed by regular practice, you probably will not win a gunfight. Well, how did you measure up? Take the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to start correcting your deficiencies by receiving your Commander Lifetime Membership with Front Sight Firearms Training Facility. A one-time donation to RBN for $500 will give you a Commander Lifetime Membership at Front Sight as a tremendously huge thank you bonus. See details on RBN's webpage to make it happen. The clock is ticking. You had better be ready before it happens.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington, too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. But I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the 7 seas. Yeah, I want to be a pirate.
Welcome back to our show here. And again, thanks to Dr. Kelly for calling on in with that news flash where this teaching hospital had a whole bunch of testing kits for COVID-19, and they sent them in without using them on patients, just basically sent them back. And it was reported they all came back with positive results. So it sort of undermines the claims about how many people are testing positive, because false positives are obviously a problem with the current system here. Okay, Harvard University has announced they're closing for the season. They're going to maintain an online presence, which hasn't really worked out as well as people would like. And even worse, they're charging full tuition for the online education, as it will. Donald Trump is slamming them for not fully reopening and basically saying, I think it's ridiculous. I think it's an easy way out, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves. Now, Trump is gung-ho about getting the schools open again, despite the perceived uptick in coronavirus cases. And I emphasize the word perceived. Okay, as you're aware, there's been a lot of money coming out of the government for the Paycheck Protection Program, various other situation. And already it looks like it's been politicized and corrupted here, because apparently politically well-connected firms are nabbing all the loans. Okay. Kanye West's Yeezy brand and law firms connected to David Boyce and Trump defense attorney Mark Kasowitz got loans from the Paycheck Protection Program. This in P.F. Chang's restaurant chain and businesses linked to several members of Congress. So it's being handed out like candy to supporters here. And the controversy is the latest to befall the PPP, which was launched in April as a key job-saving program for small businesses. And instead, the loans are going to companies that don't really need them. It's just convenient. But apparently, a Dallas megachurch, whose pastor has been a vocal supporter of Donald Trump, was approved for a forgivable loan worth $2 to $5 million. So Vice President Mike Pence spoke at a rally last month at the First Baptist Church of Dallas, whose pastor, Robert Jeffress, has been on Trump's Evangelical Advisory Board. The list of religious organizations approved for about 88,000 small business loans include Joyce Meyer Ministries, a Missouri church which in 2007-2011 was investigated by the Senate over its finances. That church was approved for between 5 and 10 million, the largest sum an individual entity could apply for. Now, Nancy Pelosi's husband is among the lawmaker-linked PPP loan recipients. A firm partially owned by Nancy Pelosi's husband was among businesses that got Paycheck Protection Program loans, according to data released on Monday. Companies owned by or associated with Representatives Mike Kelly, Republican of Pennsylvania, Kevin Hern, Republican of Oklahoma, Mark Wayne Mullen, Republican of Oklahoma, and Rick Allen, Republican of Georgia, also received the coronavirus loans. Businesses linked to Representatives Roger Williams, Republican Texas, Vicky Hartzier, Republican Montana, Susie Lee, Democrat November, and Debbie Marcusel Powell, Democrat Florida, previously reported they got loans. Pelosi spokesman Drew Hamill said her husband, Paul Pelosi, is a minor passive investor in this company. He was not involved in or even aware of the PPP loan. And if you believe that one, I have some of Saddam's nuclear weapons to sell you. Okay, let's see who else got the money here. Floyd Money Mayweather's boxing promotion, David Beckham's MLS club, and Bubba Wallace's NASCAR team got PPP loans amid the current outbreak. And let's talk a little bit about Robert De Niro, who has just been out there, just lambasting Donald Trump on a constant basis. He's well known for his well-knownness in not liking Donald Trump. And he is a multimillionaire, and he owns a restaurant chain in partnership with celebrity chef Nobuyuki Matsuhisa and film producer Mayor Tepper. And it has multiple restaurants and hotels across the world. Well, it seems that Bob De Niro's distaste for Trump does not extend to finances, because apparently they're being staff wages at the restaurants are being paid out by the Paycheck Protection Program. So, by the way, Robert De Niro is estimated to be worth about $500 million. Okay, now let's get into some internal politics here. This one stinks to high heaven. And basically, the Department of Justice and the FBI are claiming they cannot provide documents related to Seth Rich and the Clinton emails until after the 2020 election. Now, one has to ask why? Because Seth Rich is gone. And in theory, Hillary Clinton is not a candidate. So why are they withholding the documents until after the election? Something very nefarious is going on. Now, was the CIA involved in what was obviously a hit? Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. But they're definitely wrapping the secret up real tight so that you can't know what's happening. We got to take a break for another commercial. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Did you know that you can be tracked and traced when you're online? With identity theft and cybercrimes on the rise, your passwords, your identity, and even your physical location can be revealed to complete strangers. Would you like to surf the internet anonymously and not have to worry about these threats? Well, now you can by visiting patriotinternet.com. For about $2 per month, patriotinternet.com will conceal your IP address and your physical location, allowing you to browse the web, send emails, and instant message anonymously. patriotinternet.com will bypass filters, block sites, and keyword blocking. You can also bypass logging by your router and your ISP. With patriotinternet.com, there is no software to install and uses 128-bit encryption for your protection. When using wireless hotspots, patriotinternet.com shields your information from identity thieves and is compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux. Protect your identity and your freedom with anonymous internet access from patriotinternet.com. Visit patriotinternet.com today.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly!
The new EaseOff Model Easy 4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The EaseOff lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
Sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the EaseOff? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my EaseOff?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry because we are offering $200 off on the new Easy 4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows too. EaseOff LLC, Summersville, Missouri, 417-932-6419.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women.
Welcome back to our show here. Now, the Justice Department yesterday produced more evidence to General Mike Flynn's legal team. And this of course, came out from Peter Strzok and Joe Pientka, I think that's pronounced, conducted an ambush-style interview of General Flynn on January 24th, 2017 at the White House. There was apparently a memo generated at the Department of Justice dated January 30th that may have cleared General Mike Flynn. So it looks like good news for him. Okay, let's talk about George Floyd. As you're probably aware, the first autopsy indicated that he was killed when this police officer leaned on his neck and basically suffocated him. And then the news came out saying there was a second autopsy that said he actually died of a heart attack or some such nonsense. Well, over at UNS.com, they have been looking around and they can't find that there was ever a second autopsy. It just seems to have been made up out of thin air. so they could go to press and say, "Oh, see, the police didn't kill him. He was on the verge of death already, and the police had nothing to do with it." Boy, don't you hate getting lied to this much? I mean, it's not an occasional thing. It's like always. How do you know a politician's lying to you? Their lips move. All righty, now then, let's see. Court orders the Dakota Access Pipeline to be shut down for environmental review. This is a victory for the Sioux tribe and other protesters. This has been going on for a long time. And apparently it's this controversial oil pipeline that was supposed to go by a nearby town. And instead the town said, no, we don't want that here. And so they chose a new path for the oil pipeline that crossed bodies of water, including in the reservation. So the court has ruled the 570,000 barrels a day Dakota Access Pipeline must be idled and drained within 30 days for an environmental assessment. That should have been done before the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers granted an easement for the conduit to pass under Lake Oahe. And this was ruled by the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. Barring a successful appeal to a higher court, the decision will result in extended disruption to oil shipments. The Corps of Engineers has said it will take about 13 months to do the required environmental review. The problem is those pipelines leak. Why? Because they were built as cheaply as possible. And there's been an issue with pipeline leaks. And in this case, we're talking about potentially leaking into bodies of water that are the source of water for people who live on the reservation. All right, let's talk about a little bit about silence here. This is an article that came out of Russia Today, and it's an issue that has been brought up before, but the question is, are the magnetic poles reversing? And the question is being asked because Earth's magnetic field is 10 times more volatile than expected. The north and south magnetic poles are moving around a lot. They're moving around actually quite rapidly right now. And analysis of rocks has shown that the magnetic poles have flipped multiple times in the ancient past. Now, this may sound like no big deal until you realize how many compasses rely on the magnetic field. And you already have to do an adjustment for declination. You know, what is going to be north. But if it flips completely, there's going to be a major problem with navigation. You know, one can presume that during the period of the flip, when the magnetic poles are wandering all over where the equator is, it's going to be very, very difficult, if not impossible, to use the magnetic field for direction finding. And I don't know, maybe somebody could invent a pocket gyroscopic compass, you know, that you power up and you align it to north, like with the stars or something, and then you just have it on a watch chain. If you need something like that here. But a study by researchers from Britain and the US shows the Earth's magnetic field, which protects it from the sun's destructive solar flares, may change direction 10 times faster than previously thought. The study shines light on the liquid iron flowing almost 2,000 miles before the Earth's surface and how it influences the movement of the Earth's geomagnetic field. So the magnetic field is crucial to life on Earth, as not only does it help with navigation, it protects us from radiation from outer space. So the question is, does it decrease while it's moving? So far, no. But it's another reminder that Mother Nature is still in charge. All right, international news. China is justifying their military moves near the islands as Asia-Pacific feuds heat up. China is justifying their campaigns near two disputed sets of islands in the Asia-Pacific by claiming sovereignty over the territories while its feud with the United States and several countries over the area heats up. And again, I refer you back to the Cairo Convention signed at the end of World War II, which said these islands belong to China. And the United States signed it. And the attitude today as well, that was 50 years ago here. And, you know, there's oil and gas there now, and we have to take possession of all of that oil and gas. Can't let China have it. China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian said Monday that China has the right to conduct Coast Guard patrols going on for nearly 13 consecutive weeks near the Paracel Islands controlled by Japan in the East China Sea and to close off the waters surrounding the Vietnam-claimed Pinnacle Islands for training in the South China Sea from July 1st to July 5th, because both are part of China's territory. Now, the U.S. aircraft carriers Nimitz and Reagan are conducting round-the-clock drills in the South China Sea. Hundreds of aircraft are being launched from the two carriers. They're participating in an around-the-clock drill to support free navigation in the South China Sea. No, that's not what they're doing. They're basically, it's a show of force to China. You don't need to support free navigation in the South China Sea. China isn't blocking anybody from going through that area in international waters. So working together with another carrier air wing provides advanced opportunities for our squadrons to conduct high-end training and increase our warfighting readiness, Captain Michael Rovenolt, commanding officer of Carrier Air Wing 5, said. Our forces provide combatant commanders with significant operational flexibility to respond to regional contingencies. They're preparing for a war, is what they're doing. And here's a very alarming story. This is from WIO News. Apparently, the U.S. military will continue to stand strong in relation to a conflict between India and China or anywhere else, a top White House official said on Monday. Basically, what they're saying is the U.S. military will stand with India in case of a conflict with China. That, of course, would get the United States the war with China they've obviously been lusting for quite some time. And let's see. The message is clear. We're not going to stand by and let China or anyone else take the reins in terms of being the most powerful, dominant force, whether it's in that region or over here, because that, after all, is our job. FBI boss Christopher Wray accuses China of having a preference for the 2020 election. What nation doesn't? Of course, every nation is going to be looking at our upcoming election and saying, how would our nation do if this candidate won? And how would our nation do if that candidate won? And obviously, the candidate most advantageous to their own interests is going to be their preferred candidate. So it's no surprise that China has a preference, or anybody else. Russia has a preference, Vietnam has a preference, Japan has a preference, France has a preference, Great Britain has a preference. Okay? Now, FBI boss Christopher Wray is also saying that China is stealing American information in one of the largest transfers of wealth in our history. On that one, he's definitely correct. It's been a bit of a problem. Part of the problem, of course, is this offshoring of manufacturing to China, because American companies will develop a product like, for example, the iPhone. And because nobody in the United States can make a smartphone at that cost, they'll go to China. And in the process, some of the technology going into that iPhone has to be transferred over there so the Chinese can make the iPhone. And then the Chinese have that technology. And then they make their own smartphones, their own pads, their own tablets. Now, FBI Chief Wray is saying that if China seeks world domination, should the U.S. keep doing business with it? He says, yeah, we can have it both ways. We can block China's quest for world dominance because that's our job. But we can still do business with it. I have to disagree. I mean, we're obviously coming to a situation where China and the United States are becoming hostile. And China can hurt us a very great deal simply by stopping exports to this country. We are unfortunately, sadly, dependent on China for a lot of our everyday lives, mostly electronics. Now, Donald Trump, when he came into office, said he was going to bring back the American manufacturing. Not a lot of it, unfortunately, has come back. It really, really hasn't. And there needs to be a way to rebalance the global economy so that people in China and people in the United States are earning the same wages and salaries and producing the same products at the same profit. Part of the problem we have here in the United States of America, of course, is everybody's living under such debt loads that we can't accept lower wages. Everyone talks about how low the wages and salaries are in places like China. The other part of the equation they don't talk about is how much lower the cost of living is. And that can be significant. A lot of people just look at the cost of living and say, well, it's the cost of living and that's it. There are places where it's not as high. When we moved from Hawaii here to Indiana, we were shocked at how inexpensive things are. Definitely one of the pluses of the move here. Okay, China has inked a military deal with Iran under a 25-year plan, which is rather secret. They're not letting it be known what's going on here. So apparently, all the way in last August, Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Zarif paid a visit to his Chinese counterpart, Wang Li, to present a roadmap on a comprehensive 25-year China-Iran strategic partnership that built upon a previous agreement signed in 2016. Many of the key specifics of the updated agreement were not released to the public at the time, but were uncovered by oilprice.com. Last week at a meeting in Gilan province, former Iran President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad alluded to some of the secret parts of the deal for the first time, stating that it's not valid to enter into a secret agreement with foreign parties without considering the will of the Iranian nation and against the interest of the country and the nation, and the Iranian nation will not recognize it. That's kind of interesting here. All right, we're going to go ahead and open the phone lines now for the rest of the show, and we're going to start with Al in Canada. Hello, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
When you were just talking about wage equality between China and the United States, or any two countries in the world, a problem arises, and that's different currencies, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that has to be addressed. So obviously, what do you do? Like, do you do a one world reserve currency?
Well, I don't want to reserve currency in the first place because that always accrues interest. What I want is a currency that's an absolute statement of value, not debt. And that's why I proposed the idea of the electro some years ago. But you can have different currencies. What you have to do is establish controls over the exchange rate to keep the absolute value of the different currencies the same.
Bankers don't like that.
No, they don't.
PayPal doesn't like that.
No.
PayPal skims.
Yes.
Between two currencies. And as it fluctuates, like I actually paid for something in Canadian dollars, and then it gets of course it converts into United States dollars. Right?
Yes. Yes.
And I've gotten my money back, but because the currency exchange had changed, I got actually less Canadian dollars back. And I phoned them and I called them on this more than once. So there's that problem as well.
Well, the problem is
really no fair system.
The actual conversions are done in the dead of night. I went through this with my bank as well. When some of our Canadian listeners were sending me Canadian bills, which, by the way, are very cool. Canada has a real cool currency system. And, I put it into the bank and they'd say, we can't tell you what it's going to be worth until tomorrow morning. And so that's what happened with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you almost want to hold on to those different dollars, different countries' dollars, depending on the fluctuation. Like our dollar is really low right now. It's around 73 or 74 cents. And it's been as high as 98, 99 cents not that long ago. So it goes to show you like how come Trump never calls out Canada for manipulating our currency? It's always China.
Well, we're not looking to go to war with
doing
Canada.
this.
We haven't been at war with Canada since the War of 1812.
Well, of course not, because we'll do whatever you say. Right?
Send more maple
up to
sugar.
and including building those really crummy single wall oil pipelines,
Yes.
right down to your refineries, and we don't have any.
Yes.
Then we get our gas back. You're like it's miraculous that some of the politicians in this country aren't in jail yet for some of the stuff they've done to us.
Yes.
It's the United States privilege, right?
Politicians.
It's not even
privilege.
color anymore. It's just if you live in the United States, you're privileged. Period.
I don't know about that. I think I know a lot of Americans who don't feel that they're privileged. We have a privileged
know a lot
class.
of Canadians.
There's no question about it.
Yeah, I know a lot of Canadians that don't feel anything at all because they're just mindless. So, I mean, anyone can argue one way or another here, but in the end, it doesn't really matter because the United States has a reserve currency, and that's just the way it is, and it's going to stay that way for a long time.
It's going to stay that way as long as the bankers get away with it.
Well, they're getting away. In Canada, they finally posted some kind of deficit projection.
Yes.
It's $343 billion.
That's a lot of deficit.
So in your country, it's going to be around 3.5 trillion, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it'll be, all over the world, it'll be about the same. And it was low interest, maybe 0.25%, but still, that currency had to be created, and the population has to pay that servicing into perpetuity.
That's the whole
That's where they
point.
get you.
That's the whole point, is to keep you a debt slave forever. Anyway, listen, Al, we got to let you go. Got to take a break for commercials. We have more callers waiting on the line, and we will be right back.
Is the Second Amendment your line in the sand? Is the United States Constitution important to you? Are you worried about gun confiscation? You need to join us for free at gunconfiscation.com. At gunconfiscation.com, you will meet like-minded patriots, get the latest Second Amendment news, and find anything you need to prepare for gun confiscation. Visit gunconfiscation.com today. That's gunconfiscation.com. Which side are you on?
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right. All the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. Amazon customer, 5 out of 5 stars. I'm quite happy about it. This product has relieved what appears to be an angina problem, pain in the chest after climbing stairs, and short on breath. I'm quite happy about it. Dr. Sam Surreal. Good product and ingredients. Kept my blood pressure normal after mild heart attack in 2015. Switched to plant-based diet, also to reverse atherosclerosis. John Bispicos, 5 out of 5 stars. Built up my immune system. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something By and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting worse every.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go right back to the phones to Laura in Michigan. Hello, Laura. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I want to correct two things from yesterday's show. And
Okay.
number one is you said that Israel is going to have a space program and plant the Star of David flag on the moon.
I was
Well,
being
here's the
facetious.
thing. Here's what I'm correcting. There's no Star of David. There is no Star of David. That's the Star of Moloch. Moloch was a god that the Israel used to sacrifice their babies to. Only place that flag should be flown is over Planned Parenthood.
Good point.
I'm serious. Yeah, exactly. Now, the other point I wanted to correct, the last caller of the day said that Adolf Hitler was killing people that were useless eaters. I think he's got it mixed up. He doesn't know what communism is. Stalin, Lenin, and Marx, that would be more of a communist thing to kill useless eaters since they killed 100 million people in Russia.
Mhm.
So it's not Adolf Hitler that kills useless eaters. That's
Well, a lot
communist.
of people talk about that. I mean, even George Bush was talking about having to do something about the useless eaters.
Yeah. It's more of a communist thing. Anyway, that's all I want to do is correct those two things.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Good day to you, Michael. Yeah, Michael, there are a few things on my mind, but one thing is you got this imbecile Joe Biden now talking if he becomes president, he's going to put Barry Soetoro Hussein on the monument in Mount Rushmore. He should be on Mount Rushmore. Here's the same guy, Soetoro, that he should be in prison for what he did to Trump, spying on his campaign with Michael Flynn and all that. We don't hear none about that from the leftist communist media, but John Durham's going to get to the bottom of it and watch what's going to go down in the next few months. You're going to blow the country's mind. This whole Soetoro was spying on Trump and Flynn and all these people. And this guy, bumbling Biden's part of it. His son Hunter's a cocaine addiction, has 3 babies with 3 different women. And this guy wants to be president of the United States, and his son's a piece of garbage, stealing millions and millions of dollars from China and Russia and everybody else. We don't hear about that in the media. All it is about Trump, 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 bad Trump, bad, spank hand, bad. The problem is, Michael, the white males, like I told you, they used to be the pioneers. They become the wussies and the pussies. They're not standing up for their cultural identity, and they're allowing monuments and everything to be torn down. And let's get back to NASCAR, Michael. NASCAR was founded by men whose granddaddies fought for the Confederacy in the Civil War. NASCAR
Yes.
now was not founded by Yankees. It was founded by Confederate men. The moon runners and all that, the moonshiners and all that. The NASCAR was founded by men whose granddaddies fought in the Civil War for the South. So NASCAR should not take down the rebel flag. No way. The rebel flag's your side because, like Trump said, it is a freedom of speech. You don't see all the like your last caller, the Star of David. How many Palestinians are the Palestinians claiming the Star of David killed? Michael,
Okay,
are they
Tom.
taking out the Star of David?
Tom, I got to put you on hold. We got to take a break for station identification. Don't hang up. I'm going to come right back to you.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. We're talking with Tom in Florida, and Tom, just take it away.
Yeah. First off, Michael. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Michael. I was looking at some statistics today about World War I and World War II. Most of the men who fought in those battles against Germany were Southern men, not Northern men. Most of them came out of the South. That's another thing the media never wants to talk about. Most of the men who did the battles in those two wars were Southern gentlemen. Now, I want to get back to a call they had today earlier in the show, Michael, about the coronavirus. The coronavirus, I'm realizing, it was contrails. It was a hoax. You had a guy, Richard, calling another show earlier. I hope he calls into your show today. He needs to call you to talk to you. The guy was very important what he said. He said the rainwater in Oregon is turning yellow, and he's never seen nothing like it, and the guy was right to the point. They're spraying us. This coronavirus did not spread from Chinese sneaking in here from the airports and going to these cities. This coronavirus has been pre-planned for years, and this has been, they've been spreading this through chemtrails or contrails, whatever you want to call them. This is an airborne disease. This is not a virus from people to people contact. I do not believe that. I believe we've been sprayed with the coronas. I hope that guy Richard calls your show today. It would be a fantastic thing so everybody can listen to this guy. He's right on the money. He's very informative on what's going on with the coronas. But getting back to what I really want to talk about, Michael, here's what I want to talk about. Number one, we're hearing all this crap about Trump. Nobody's ever talked about those 28 kids who died a year before coronas came out from a mysterious death, a lung illness. And there's some of those kids were 15, 16 years old in Oklahoma and all these other states up in the West. What was the actual cause of their death? Nobody's ever said. What caused their death? Lung disease or what? These people were all very young. Now all of a sudden the corona comes and all the old people get it. No, this is I don't know if this is a lab thing or whatever, but I know somebody's behind this is very treacherous. And what they're doing is disgusting. Now I'm going to get back to what's going on here in South Florida, Michael. All the radio shows here in South Florida, English and Spanish. The Spanish radio station, I have heard people tell me, like, translate for me. They tell me that the Cubans and the Venezuelans will not tolerate a Biden administration where they turn this country into communism. They already went through it once. They're not going through it twice. You cannot even find guns in any gun stores in South Florida, Mike. I'm telling you, that's how bad it is. And Venezuela, they just had a major story in the Miami Herald, the Fort Lauderdale Sun Sentinel. They just busted a ring of 80 luxury cars. You can check it up on your computer. They just busted a ring here in South Florida, 80 Corvettes and all these special cars that were going to Venezuela. So somebody in Venezuela's got filthy loads of money to buy these cars in Miami to bring them to Venezuela. Also, the main headline on the Spanish paper here in South Florida, Michael, is that Venezuela is poorer than Haiti. The country of Haiti is now a better place to live per capita than Venezuela. And that's in both those sections of Fort Lauderdale and the Miami Herald, Sun Sentinel. And they're talking about this car ring that they busted with all these very fancy cars going to Venezuela, and they caught them at the port of Miami. It's unbelievable what's going on. And, you know, all we hear is about Trump. Oh, Trump's bad. No, Trump realizes we're fighting a crisis like we've never had in this country. Never. We've never seen nothing like this with the immigration invasion. I told you a year ago, Michael, if you give most blacks $1 million in a briefcase, they'll still vote Democrat. No matter what Trump. Now you got this guy backstabbing Kanye West talking about Trump. I mean, these people are ridiculous. This thing never ends. It never ends. Trump. Oh, Trump's bad. But here you got Biden, Obama getting away with filthy murder Okay? Biden is the biggest bumbling fool, and I do believe he's going to pick a socialist, communist black woman for his vice VP. That's what we're going to have to face. Biden's not going to make the decisions. It's going to be the woman, and it's going to be the leftists. Like, Michael, look at all the major networks. Rachel Madcow, Cooper, Pooper, Lemon. You got the Ellen DeGenerate. All these other people in the media. Even at Meghan McCain, her father is a lane brain, insane McCain. Meghan McCain, a filthy bag. I mean, these people are all hypocritical, Bolshevik, homosexual embracing lovers, and it's terrible what's happened in our country. They embrace that, and if you're a Christian or you believe in the Bible or God's word, I mean, it's like you're a bad guy. Spank him, he's bad. I mean, it's gone off the charts. It has absolutely gone off the charts what the media's getting away with. They're promoting a race war or civil war, however you want to call it, and every day it's unrelenting attacks against Trump, Pence. It never ends. It never ends. And I'm telling you, Michael, they're going after our guns and they're going after our right to speak. Absolutely. If that Biden gets in there, it's over. I'm telling you, it's going to be curtains. It's going to be horrific. Like I said, the Herald's a pretty leftist newspaper here in South Florida, Mike. But even they're starting to realize the Hispanics here in South Florida, they're not going to tolerate another Cuba. They went through it. They lost all their possessions in Cuba back in the late 50s, early 60s, and they're not going to tolerate it. Even up in the Mariel boat lift. A lot of these Cubans, I'm telling you, you're flying. Most of them have the American flags flying. Well, I don't see hardly any Afro-Americans with too many with American flags on their cars or flying them in their house. But these Hispanics, they sure do. The ones that came from Cuba, Venezuela, they love this country, I guess, because they sure are showing their patriotism here in South Florida with their flag. But you got the other group that wants to fly the Mexican flags. You go figure, Mike. It's just all a big cabal, run by you-know-who. We know who runs it all, the bankers. And I really believe this Corona hoax, what they're doing is airborne. This was being sprayed on us. There's no way I believe this was coming in contact to contact. We've been sprayed because, like they say, the mask doesn't really help, but it's going through your eyes. You can probably get Corona through your ears or your skin, your epidermis. So who's kidding who here? It's not the mask doesn't really protect you that much. It might protect you from breathing out, but it ain't protecting you from catching the coronas. No, it's all a scam. And this was another thing to stop the Jesse Smollett, the Molly Tibbetts cases be going in and sensationalized on the media because they were ready to have to plant those on the media at Fox News and even OAN to talk about Molly Tibbetts getting stabbed by an illegal alien. Jesse Smollett trying to start a race war. That's what this is all about, Mike. To stop Trump at all costs, and this is how they use it. They're using this at all costs against the Republican Party. They're even talking about changing the Senate now to the Democrat. Can you imagine an imbecile like Biden with a Democratic Senate? It'd be chaos.
Yes.
This country would be gone. We wouldn't have a country, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. We lose this country completely. Okay? Like I said, here in South Florida, the papers here, especially the Spanish paper, they showed a graphic truth of what the communism is going to cost us if we allow a guy like Biden to become president. It will be disastrous. I'm telling you, like I said, these food trucks get shot, these tanker trucks, it's going to be chaos here, Mike, all over the country. BLM, black looting matters to the media, okay? And every day you got black getting shot in these big cities. Nobody's saying nothing on the you got crickets on these main news outlets. Only a few networks even talk about the crime rate in Chicago or Philadelphia.
Well, that's not true. Fox News just ran a lower third, basically saying that the shooting rate is up 125% over this time last year. So they're starting to talk about it. They have to talk about it.
Well, CNN doesn't talk about it, Mike, and neither MSNBC or none of those other liberal networks. None of them. OAN talks about it all the time, every day. They talk about immigration every hour, about how much it's costing this country. Illegal immigration.
Okay, but Terry Crews talks about the black violence with Don Lemon on CNN.
Yeah, and they called him crazy. Don Lemon's basically calling that guy crazy, and he's lying and all.
Yeah, but at least it's getting out there. At least people are being made aware that there's an issue that needs to be looked into.
True. I agree, Mike. Well, that's good news, I guess. But we'll see what happens. This election is going to be incredible what's going to happen here.
Yes.
I know Trump's trailing a little bit in some of these swing states, but I think in the end he's going to end up taking these swing states because this country cannot absorb 4 years or 2 years or 1 year of that idiot Biden. Even 1 year that guy in the White House would be insane. It would be insane with that Biden in there. It would be terrifying. So let's just pray for the best, be prepared for the worst. That's all I got to say to everybody. And, like your caller yesterday, you got to get some land or start growing your own farm in your backyard if you got enough room to grow crops or vegetables, whatever you can grow, whatever you can do. But we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be interesting, Mike, in the very near future what's going to happen with this government, because it's, the media, they're out of control. Their liberal media is totally out of control in this country, what they're doing.
I agree.
Pathetic. And I hope that guy Richard calls in about the coronavirus, because he was right on the money. I do believe we're being sprayed, and this coronavirus has got out of hand. Now I think the lies are going to be perpetrated to the Democrats, because they're filthy liars. That's all I got to say. They're a bunch of liars, the Democrats.
All right. Well, thank you.
Some of them rhinos too, but you got it, Mike. Have a great day. Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks. We're going to let you go here. And, obviously, Tom and I disagree on the issue of chemtrails. As far as being sprayed, who knows? Possible. And we're going to go back to the phones to Ray in Indiana. Hello, Ray. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
I can't believe my luck. The last time I called in. I got in after Tom. I can't. I get to sit there and hold and listen to him the whole time. And,
you're stalking him.
Yeah, I guess. But I love all the callers. Tom, Dustin, Ryan out of Dan while he was gone is in line with the question I'm going to bring up. He was talking about the number of deaths and everything and how much lower they are over there. You brought up a test I forget what day it was. I'm on podcast saying how inaccurate the test was. That anything, the Corona family would test positive on the test. That's the PCR test that you've been talking about, right?
I think it's the antibodies test. And the other aspect of it is, false positives are a real problem, and the fact that they're not able to get an accurate test, it's very troubling. It's very worrisome.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed that we, at this late date, we still don't have an accurate test. But my point is, are all the countries using the same test, or aren't there better tests out there?
There may well be.
The only one using.
Yeah, there's a lot of protectionism going on. The United States wants there to be an American solution to the coronavirus, an American vaccine, an American cure, although cures are considered bad for business. And anything that might cut into that potential future earnings, like hydroxychloroquine, is being, shuffled off to the side here. There appear to be some very effective, inexpensive treatments, cures for coronavirus, but they're being ignored in this rush to come up with a new patentable high-profit product.
Yeah, my own research, and I'm nowhere near the level you are. I was trying to determine what the other countries are using to see if there was a better test, and I just started. I thought you might know the answer, and it sounds like we're on the same page. That, that Donald Trump wanted to use the American test, and I don't. But CDC is one that determines the test, and CDC is not a government agency. It's right, isn't it a private entity?
The private entity.
That's the other part of the story. Yeah, that's the other part of the story that drives me nuts. Is they're the ones determining the test, and there might be better tests out there that they're not letting us use. Yes, and they're not even part of the government. Well, anyway, thanks for all the podcasts. Keep up the great work. Love the show. Love the callers. You have a great day.
All right, same to you. We're going to switch over to Peter in Los Angeles. Hello, Peter. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I wanted to talk about, I want to start out by saying what my values are.
Yes.
Which are equal justice under law.
Yes.
Equal opportunity under law. And we can't have a society, especially a multicultural society, without that. And from there, I want to move to an announcement that NBC News made that you ran on what really happened on the website. That they're saying that they have new, and I'm a former HR director for big companies, that they're come up with new affirmative action guidelines for NBC News, which would cover also CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, and NBC. in their hiring practice, they're going after 50% women and 50% non-whites. So that's what they're announcing now. This would fly in the face of any fair, which means that, of course, no white men will ever be hired to deliver the news on air or even off air, apparently, for any of the NBC and their affiliates, and it would also mean probably that the people who do take up the women part will probably be Jewish. Everybody else is Jewish in the hierarchy. But how is that going? I mean, how is that equal justice, equal opportunity under law?
Well,
how does
it's
that
not
work out for
equal opportunity.
60% of the population?
Because equality of outcome is easier to legislate than equality of opportunity, because we're all individuals, we all have different talents and skill abilities, and so you can't really say, well, there's equal opportunity. Somebody who's non-white goes to work at a company and they mess up and they get fired and they scream discrimination, discrimination, discrimination. Well, how do you go to that person and say, you just couldn't cut the mustard? Which is the reality there. And same thing happens.
Well,
there are white guys who
Mike,
get fired because they can't do the job.
But they can legislate outcome, and they do.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Point.
That's exactly
they're
what
limiting. They're 62% of the population, and that means that 31% of the population gets no look at all.
Yes.
No look at all. 31% of the population. The other thing is that not only are we being denied the equal opportunity, and by the way, also equal protection, because they can scream discrimination before being fired, but we cannot. So there's another level of discrimination. But then you read about, for instance, the stories of the now they're calling them, what are they calling them? Karens. A white woman who called 911 when a black guy was, and even the black guy even admitted that he threatened her, and she's being charged because she called 911, and the guy admitted that he threatened her. Or how about the couple up in northern Contra Costa, Northern California, who painted over that thing on the Black Lives Matter thing on the street, which they had no right to put down, and nobody got arrested for that, but the Black District Attorney is charging them with a hate crime.
Yes.
Right. So they're pulling down. Other people are pulling down statues, painting over things, putting big messages on streets, and two people who are erasing those are arrested for hate crimes. So where is the equal protection under law? And if the police won't even come, and of course we're cutting back on the police coverage, and they won't even come before the cuts, where does that leave 62% of the population?
It leaves us pretty much in
jobs,
alert. No jobs. It's made a mockery of our education, because a lot of these guys, they went to
easily
school.
bullied and preyed upon with violence.
Yes.
Easily, all this stuff, and can't get a job. That's right. And so, where does that leave us? This is 62% of the population. And all the quotas that we will have, which will be women, will be taken up by Jewish people. That's the way it goes, anyways. They consider themselves white, when it's to their advantage. So there'll be no representation for 2/3 of the population.
Yes. And let me tell you where I'm coming from with all this affirmative action thing. When I'm flying on an airplane, I want the pilot to be the best in his class, not somebody who, hit a little tick box on ethnicity. Same thing when I go to the doctors. I want the best that came out of medical school, not somebody who was hired into that hospital because they needed a minority hire. I mean, we're basically de-evolving our civilization with all of this affirmative action, legislating equality of outcome. Because if people know that the outcome depends on the chance of the law, they're not going to study as hard. We're basically de-emphasizing excellence and the desire to, the desire to be the best that you can be. And because people are going to go into college and say, why should I try? Whether or not I get a job is no longer under my control. It has to do with my ethnicity. Why should I even try?
It's where we're worshiping the God of multiculturalism and all that stuff instead of meritocracy, which cuts across all cultures. And I'm all for it. The Asians score better than everybody else. They're getting hosed by this too.
Yes.
So it should be all about meritocracy. And you know what? If the people, if the people who need that don't get it, if they don't get their advantage, they better work harder.
Okay, well, Peter, I got to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back with more phone calls.
Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we have been building our online store. Well, we have been focusing on bringing you the best talk show host in the country. Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we also want our listeners to have products they can use every day and in times of emergency. We have added new products each week to our store. Your support of this network, plus products at the best prices, is a win-win situation. Check out our new store. Go to our website, republicbroadcasting.org, and click on the online store located at the top of our website. Together, we can continue to grow RBN and help our listeners prepare for the future. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and click on our online store or call us.
800-724-2719, extension 3. 800-724-2719, extension 3.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
Welcome back to our show, and a reminder that Republic Broadcasting is in a state of perpetual fundraising, and the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. And just imagine if you tuned in tomorrow and Republic Broadcasting wasn't here. That's how serious it's going to get. All right, we're going to go back to the phones to Andy in Texas. Hello, Andy. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi. First off, Mike, I'd like to apologize to your audience and yourself for my rants the last few times. But I'm a veteran, and I am so worried about this country. But I would really like to get on the topic of Donald Trump. Who did Donald Trump support before? Okay, cool. And so who did Donald Trump support before he ran for presidency? He was a Democrat. He supported and donated to the Clinton Foundation, to the Clintons and whatnot. He's backed up by Shadle Ellison, which is the guy who pulled him out of bankruptcy twice. So this guy became a billionaire twice. So this guy has an agenda. Give us some thought, people. He has some agenda here, okay? This guy, he's the most powerful man in the world, okay? So when he ran on what he ran on, when he first, at the presidential dinner, he gave, and guess who was there? The Clintons. And he gave credence to the Clintons. And he there was a standing ovation for the Clintons after this. And people need to go watch that video. So Donald Trump is not who we think he is. Donald Trump has been put here by the Zionists, because he's one, and allowed us to watch ourselves being destroyed. And people are defending him. It's Stockholm Syndrome. He's our captor, and we worship him. He's the guy who's going to bring us sovereignty. He's going to bring us back to freedom. And he's not that guy. He's not that guy. Everybody thinks he's a victim right now because Fauci and all these people that were brought in by Pence that makes everybody feel sorry for him. So, oh, great. So guess what? It doesn't matter who gets elected in November. The program is going to keep going on. Now, with Biden, the retarded gentleman that lives in the basement, if that guy gets voted in, we'll just move along a little quicker. Donald Trump is doing it in a passive way. And we're all just going, oh, my God, he's such a victim. And I'm really sad to hear that. It really disturbs me. As a veteran who has fought for this country, what I thought was for freedom. And now I've got a commander-in-chief that is just walking us through this hand and foot. And you know what? Actually, I wish I would have been able to say this before Tom came on because he's such a Trump advocate. But research what Trump's life has been like. Research who Trump is, his entire family. If you do so, you'll find out that he was planned to be the president here. I believe in 1869, there was a book written about Donald Trump being the last president. And it wasn't about this particular guy. I'm not sure. How did they know some guy named Donald Trump was going to do it? But it's called The Last President. Look at that up. I'm at an impasse. The guy did not take everybody out of these wars. In fact, the wars have escalated. And he just moved people from Germany to Poland. What is that? Oh, well, let's show Russia that we're standing strong. So he's really not done anything for the people, and yet we worship this guy as though as if he's the next Messiah. And I'm really sad for the people who actually are still on the bandwagon. And this QAnon stuff, holy crap! Look, they want Donald Trump to be voted in again. They do, because he's appeasing the people while we're being enslaved. Now, if Biden was voted in, how many of these QAnon and all these other people that are behind Trump, how many people are going to get on the bandwagon with Joe Biden? Nobody. Not a single person. And so it's going to cause what? Chaos, right? Am I right? It's going to cause chaos.
Yes.
So, having said that, he's done several different things. He's just another Democrat under a Republican disguise. Okay,
Rhino.
He wants it. He's a rhino. You're right. And he wants the American people to be enslaved just as much as the Democratic Party. And if anybody really thinks that he doesn't.
Okay, Andy, we got to let
What's
you go. We
happening?
got to take another break for commercials. We've got more phone calls when we come back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
The newspaper? Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, a majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper does not give out the important attention on what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
Extend your life with Extendovite, a 7-herb combination made from garlic, cayenne, bilberry, hawthorn, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Each herb was chosen for their abilities to help improve irregular heartbeats, chest pain, lower cholesterol, as well as normalize blood pressure and clean and strengthen arteries, plus much, much more. Doctors have taken people off of some or all of their pills just because they believe their patients got better while taking Extendovite. Get the dependability of Extendovite. Just see how you feel in 6 months. A 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid is only $69.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women.
Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go right back to the phones here to Kelly in Austin. Hello, Kelly. Welcome back to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Excuse me. I got stuff all over the top. I'm making a couple of dipole antennas, and I got hundreds of feet of wire all over my cellular.
Been there, done that. Didn't buy the T-shirt.
Yeah. They're both experimental. I'm going to put one in my front yard and one in my backyard. I'm going to experiment with them for the various things. I called to give you an example of what, just how out of touch local politicians are, and this comes from Austin, Texas. These idiots on the Austin City Council are meeting again tomorrow to vote on whether or not to give some doctor in town here the authority, the unilateral authority to order all business shut down for another 35 days.
Oh boy.
So that children can be safe when they go back to school, which is a bunch of nonsense. And I mean, the people in town are just enraged about that, and especially the restaurant operators, because they were hit hard before this. They just opened up a week or so, a couple of weeks ago, and now they're being hit again. And I can't imagine. I've heard a lot of grousing about that. So that's going to lead to practically near rebellion. But on top of that, this morning on one of the local talk shows, there was discussion about whether or not property taxes would be adjusted this year to account for the slowdown in economic activity related to the mandated shutdowns of business and the loss of employment. Well,
my guess is no.
The city of Austin is going to shoot for the max. They're going for an 8% increase in property taxes next year.
Do it.
I have no idea. I'm waiting to see the response that they're going to get from people all over town who are hammered already by high property taxes.
Yeah.
Texas is a very high property tax state, and Austin is one of those. It's just obscene. And when word gets out that not only are they going to vote to try to shut down business for another 35 days, but they're going to ask for an 8% increase in property taxes next year, I wouldn't be surprised to see a bunch of liberals here in this town suddenly become red pills. That's absolutely. It floors me to think that they're that out of touch. But you know what I realized? That they don't really care, because they regard the average taxpayer, the average resident of this town, as nothing more than the cash cow.
Yes.
To fund their boondoggles. And people will go to the city council and argue, and they'll they'll give you your 2 minutes to whatever. You go down to the property tax office and you can file. I'm lucky. I've got a homestead exemption because of my advanced age of 68 here. But they're not going to listen. I think things like that are going to make a lot of people sit up and think, what are we putting these people in office for?
Yes.
And maybe that's what it's going to take to push a lot of these erstwhile liberals in Austin over the edge to realize that, we can't continue down this pathway. Again, property taxes in Austin are very, very high. Texas is one of the highest property tax states in the country because we don't have a state income tax. But we also have in this state what's called a Robin Hood school system, which requires so-called property-rich districts to pay for the education of property-poor districts. And so property taxes in counties like Travis and other so-called property wealthy districts get jacked up through the roof. And then so you're not only paying for your own school system, you're paying for school systems in counties where the school system wouldn't improve if you increase the funding here 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
Nonetheless, these guys are going to come back and they're going to soak you again. An 8% increase in property taxes over last year under the current circumstances is unforgivable. So I'm curious to see what the response is going to be. But I'm expecting that Jew mayor in this town and almost a bunch of liberals on the city council are just going to sit there and tune everybody out and do what they want to do.
Yeah, that tends to be part of the problem with liberals. Somehow it'll work out. I can spend the money now. Somehow it'll work out.
Well,
We live in kind of a fairy tale world here.
Yeah, well, again, as long as politicians like that can look at and treat the average taxpayer as nothing more than a cash cow to support one boondoggle after another. It will go on and on and on. And that they're contemplating not only shutting down business for another 35 days, but increasing property taxes by another 8%. And that's the maximum.
Yes.
I mean, that just goes to show you what they think of the average resident of this
Well, I
city.
mean, some point in the future, there's going to be a crossover where the businesses who have been shut down simply won't have the money to pay the property tax. You know, what is Austin going to do then? Start, basically commandeering all these businesses or repossessing them or whatever it's called, tax seizure?
I don't think they're thinking about that. I think they're thinking that, well, Austin is so wealthy and such vitality, so economic vitality, that we'll just bounce right back.
Yeah.
But businesses all over the city, and especially the restaurant owners, are saying, we can't make it. You've robbed us. You've nailed it. You've nailed our bus to the wall, and now you're trying to do it again. But they still don't understand that you can't keep doing that. I said a couple of months ago when I talked to you that I think these idiots have got about one chance to get it right, and if they don't, their hides are going to be they're going to be relieved of their hides, and I think that's just about ready to happen.
Yeah, it's tar and feather time.
I hope so. Anyway, that's all I wanted to tell you. I'm curious, do you have a ham license?
No, but I'm working on one right now.
I'm working on mine too. I messed around with it a long time ago, and I got away from it. So I decided at this point I'm going to take the technician's exam here probably in a couple of weeks. But in the meantime, I've got all my radio equipment out, and I'm putting it back up and trying to rebuild a ham shack.
Well, I had a ham license back when I was in high school, but I let it lapse. And I'm going to go for a technician's license myself somewhere down the road in my copious amounts of free time.
Well, the good news is now you don't have to pass the Morse code for the technician's exam. I think that's deferred to to the expert class as it ought to be. I told the people here that I think that they need that scared a lot of people away from trying to get ham licenses. And right now we really need more people getting ham licenses, given the circumstances we're looking at right now.
Yes, I agree.
So the more people who are involved in that, and look, you don't find liberals involved in ham radio. You just don't. So most of the people involved in ham radio are what I would call patriots. People really have the best interest of the nation at heart. And I think if SHTF, that the ham operators are going to play a big role in making sure that things work out our way.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, good luck on yours. But I thought you might want to know about the idiots on the city council in Austin. Just how absolutely tone deaf they are.
Well, let me know what happens. Let me know if they wind up with a good coating of tar and feathers. And
their vote on shutting down businesses tomorrow. I'll let you know how that goes.
All right, that'll be fine. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here and switch over to Dustin in New Jersey. Hello, Dustin. Welcome to the show. Thank you for waiting. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Hi, everybody. Hey, I don't have a ham radio, Mike, but after Sandy, because we got hammered, I didn't have power for almost 20 days, so it's a lot. I mean, 20 days is a long time to not have power. It's pretty bad. People just, some of your people might not, some of you listeners don't have experience having power more than like 5 days. It was pretty bad for 20 days. At that point, you're like, even like if you go out to buy something, you needed to use cash. Because the credit card machines were down, so I bought a refurbished generator. at the time, I couldn't afford a new one.
Yeah.
I bought a shortwave radio, a Sony shortwave radio, has all the, the book with all the bands on it. I want to get into ham radio. That's a great way to communicate with it, because we are in that situation. But where I'm leading at, like, if you were a politician, which you probably wouldn't want to be,
No.
because you'd be either corrupt already or not being in that situation. Like, what do they do? Because we're in a virus pandemic type of situation where whatever they do, they're not probably going to have a favorable outcome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they just don't know. You know, Mike, I don't know. I saw this thing, like, this is not a respiratory illness now. It's a vascular, right?
They're saying that,
anybody
yeah,
talk-
it's respiratory and it's vascular as well.
So what does that mean? Like, you basically breathe the virus in, but it attacks your blood cells, right? And it will attach to your blood cells and clot, like potentially clot your kidneys, your gut. I mean, again, Fauci, none of these people, Trump, nobody knows, your listeners, nobody knows what this thing is. You know, like, there's different strains or this or that. So, you know, it's hard to reopen something where you don't know what the hell's going on. You know, kids got to go back to school, this, that. Well, remember, do kids transmit this? Do they not? I mean, you know, they don't know. You know, it's amazing. They don't know anything. You know, because it's not that they're stupid. It's just they don't know really anything about what this virus is in its making. You know, I know there's
still be
multiple
mutating. It may still be mutating.
Yeah. And that's what's scary, right? Like, Mike, did you see in New Jersey they're requiring masks if you're outside, but outside if you're with like a lot of people. See, there's a lot of groups that left that out. Like, you can't be outside without a mask. You know, no, it's only if you're like in a large crowd, which in a close proximity, you know, that they're requiring masks. You know. But if you're outside on your deck, you know, I don't think you need to be wear a mask. You know, what police officer, there ain't enough of them with the military to come to everybody's deck. You know what? That's the thing people forget. Like, there ain't enough people to come to everybody's house, you know? So it's exaggerated, you know? There's just not enough militarism to come to you to get you, you know? But Tom disappointed me yesterday, Mike. I wanted to cry. He goes, well, Trump paid enough for taxes. I go, what? I think your head spinned after that.
Yeah, I had a problem with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Tom, Trump has the money to have loopholes. You do realize that. I don't care if you vote for him, I voted for him, or you don't vote for him. Okay? Trump has the loopholes, which he shared with Hillary Clinton in Delaware, right? He shared in Delaware the same tax haven, okay? But don't say, well, Trump's paid enough taxes. Who the hell are you, Trump's paid enough? You're not Trump's brother or sister or cousin, you know? Like, why would you come to Trump's defense like that? I don't understand that mentality, Mike. That really made me mad. Well, Trump's paid enough taxes and this or that and that. No, Trump's had a lot of chances and loopholes and this or that. And remember, Mike, Trump's from New Jersey. Like, well, he's from New York, but he had casinos in New Jersey. So I know this, that he got bailed out by the state of New Jersey. I mean, that's just a fact. Trump was bailed out, and we all know Carl Icahn, right, who owns his markers, and Sheldon Allison owned his markers. So, but to say, I mean, the person who calls in, say socialism, communism, this, well, Trump's paid enough taxes. Like, who are you? Isn't that socialism? Well, this person, it is crazy, Mike. Like, we don't have capitalism anymore, guys. Like,
no, we're fascistic. We have a fascist economic system.
Exactly. But show me a system where human beings are running it and it doesn't get effed up. That's it. Communism, socialism, fascism, capitalism. Well, you know, corporatism.
Well, the system we had when this country started worked pretty well because the government was issuing coinage that was units of absolute value, and they circulated through commerce without accruing interest to a private central bank. And then we're taxed back in the same amount to balance the books and close the cycle. And it worked very well, which is why private central bankers hate that system so much.
Is it ever going to go back to the way it was, Mike?
Well, I'd like to see it go back to that way, but the bankers have a bad habit of declaring war on anybody who tries.
And Mike, one last thing before I get off the phone. I got to disagree with that Soviet-style collapse. We're going to have a Soviet-style collapse, but we're going to become the Soviets because, do you notice? In the Soviet-style collapse, they had they were in line for toilet paper, weren't they? They were tearing down some statues in the Soviet.
We were in line
toilet
for
paper
toilet.
lines.
We were in line for toilet paper not that long ago.
Yeah, but Mike, we're in line for toilet paper and tearing down statues, getting to communism now, right?
Getting hard to tell the difference.
Isn't that amazing? It's like the world's been flipped. We're going to communism, tearing down everything and waiting in line for paper towels and toilet paper. All right, Mike, have a good night. Tell Claire said hi.
All right, I will, and we're going to switch over to Miles in Maine. And what's on your mind?
Good afternoon, Michael.
Hello, you're on the air.
Hello?
You're on the air.
Okay, good afternoon, Michael. Just getting in on the heels of Dustin. I got to laugh. Dustin's a lifelong Democrat, and he's going to be talking about how many taxes Trump or whoever paid. Trump paid whatever the United States Congress voted for him to pay. And most of them were Democrats. Most of them that come up with these loopholes, you'll find are these Democrats. They're the same ones that raise the taxes at the local levels as well as the state. You'll find that your Democrats who load up the teachers and the schools and the municipalities with all these extra taxes. I think you'll find that out if you will. I'm wondering, about Andy. Andy calls in. And this is what's so ironic. These people, they don't have one good thing to say about Trump. They find all these obscure things. I mean, Andy's talking about Sheldon Adelson. He got money from Sheldon Adelson. Sheldon Adelson, they bailed him out. I mean, come on. That's like saying most infants drank milk as a child. I mean, it's ridiculous. Of course, Sheldon Adelson's paying homage to everybody. How do you think those kind of people get where they are? And it's the same with Trump. That didn't even make any sense to me. When he went and said Trump, well, look at who he gave donations to. He's a businessman. He's a businessman. That means you don't bring politics in it. You pave the way with the people that you need their support from, and that's how business works. I mean, capiche, Andy? That's how it works. So, I mean, these people, they've got nothing good to say about Trump. Oh, well, he did this for Israel. Tell me which one of any of these people running wasn't going to do something, if not everything, for Israel. But here's what Trump didn't do. He didn't go to war for Israel.
Not yet.
I don't care. He didn't do it. And not yet. Yeah, that's good enough. He didn't do it. That's better than any of his predecessors. Okay? So, these people that have nothing, they look at, got this myopic look, and I ask the same question. I want the name of the guy. Don't tell me how bad he is, and you don't like it because Sheldon Adelson knows him and gave money to his campaign. I don't want to hear any of that. What I want to hear is you come up with the name of who is the man that's better than Trump, that's been able to accomplish nearly as much as Trump with the entire planet against him. I mean, this is like something out of a Superman series. Trump has had nothing but these people before he even took office. And the things that he has been able to get done, people don't pay any attention to, the appointments, some of these indictments coming down now and all this stuff. He's got enemies in powerful places. And after all, at the end of the day, even though he's a billionaire, Michael, he's just a mortal man.
Yes.
I mean, give this guy a break, people. Wake the hell up. And if you, and just for a minute, just look in your mind and tell me which one of these 40 Democrat candidates and the other 14 Republican candidates and anybody else you can think of that you'd rather have for president. And that's all I want to say, Michael. Keep up the great show.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Max in Oklahoma. Hello, Max. What's on your mind today?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
You're on the air.
All righty. I just want to make a comment about all the people that are worried about Biden replacing Trump. My challenge to them is to name one thing that Biden can do to the country that Trump hasn't already done. And number two, my thoughts is if we get a hardcore leftist in there, it'll actually fix this country because it's going to wake up all these supposed patriots that are just sitting there brain dead right now because Trump's going to fix everything, which, you know, in 4 years, to think he's going to fix anything after not fixing it in 4 years says a lot about him. You got to open your eyes and judge them on their works. And, you know, he ran that show called The Apprentice. If he had somebody in there burning down Trump towers, bringing violent invaders in and, you know, stealing stuff out the back, 4 years into it, I promise you Trump wouldn't be rehiring them. He'd be saying, you are fired. So that's my thoughts. Bring in a lefty. Everybody will wake up. We'll fight back. Quit sending in our tax dollars. Get out in the streets. Show them who the real boss is and quit listening to these weird 2%ers that are running this country because they are not the majority, even though they own the media.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks for taking my call.
All right. We're going to switch over to Mark in North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, I just had to call after Dustin again. Hey, Dustin, guess what? We don't know really all that much about this virus other than we're being told the line of you know what, okay? As far as the blood clots he's talking about, when you stick somebody into one of those ventilators, okay, somebody who's already frail, and then you stick the ventilator into those lungs, it's going to cause all kinds of problems. If that person even survives, which is unlikely, it's going to cause, you know, other side effects like blood clots and, I don't know, kidney failure and God knows what else, damaged lungs. What do you think? I saw this thing yesterday, by the way, in RT, and I was disgusted with Rick Sanchez, who I really like for the most part. But he started sounding like some hysterical fool on mainstream media talking about this also, okay? The fact of the matter is the vast majority that are so-called coming down with this thing now have no symptoms. They probably don't even have the coronavirus, whatever that is. They probably have had a cold sometime in the last few months, maybe even the last year or so, and which is really a coronavirus also. And they're admitting that 80% of the time those things are testings are inaccurate, and they shouldn't even be held. You don't need these tests. If people start, you know, if it wasn't for all the publicity, this would just be like a seasonal flu already, and people would be over it. Okay, and now maybe something is left over, like a summer cold or something like that, and that would be the end of it. Now they're making a thing about Bolsonaro coming down. Well, he had mild symptoms. People forget he was the victim of a vicious knife attack just before he was elected, tore up his intestines, and he had to have several operations. So, of course, he's going to have a problem. He's going to have his immune system is probably somewhat compromised, but he seems to be getting through it. Okay, he says his fever is down and everything else. Ron Paul is 80-something years old. He's not worried about it. He's saying, go out there and do things. Don't worry about it. He goes out all the time, including to his office. His son didn't really come down. It came positive because he was tested because he flies a lot, so he wanted to have himself tested. Plus, one of his lungs had to be half removed. So, you know, because of the vicious attack he was on, and he's fine. He had no symptoms or anything else. So come on.
All right, well, Mark, I got to let you go. It's the end of the program here. There's the music playing. Stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of RBN. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. It is that critical right now. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.